Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome to GRS F1, where we are live in a rather wet, interestingly enough, Singapore for round 11 of Season 4. Of course, this is F1, this is our top tier, and there is the chance that the title is clinched here today. Iron currently has a lead of 42 points over Luke Mills as Iron just joins in to the session. So potentially a couple of little disconnection issues floating around. We'll keep an eye on those and see if we need to use a red flag or anything similar. Hopefully we will get away with not needing to do so, as this is probably going to be quite a long one here, especially if it stays wet as we move into the race itself. But if Iron manages to outscore Luke by more than 10 points, he will clinch the title with 2 rounds remaining. Though I think Iron would probably prefer to take it next week when we're going to be racing China, which is Iron's favourite track. As for some reason my OBS is currently having a seizure of some description. Why is it doing that? So apologies for the currently pretty spotty quality. Are we good? Are we playing? Yeah, we appear to be somewhat playing now. Okay, good. So, first man who is going to do a lap, he's just on an outlap at the moment. He's on full wet tyres. There's some guys out on track on intermediates as well, so interesting to see which is currently quicker. Is going to be AlphaTauri driver Will Coates. Not had the best season so far. Been picking up some decent points as he almost puts it in a wall on the outlap. That would have not been an ideal start to qualifying. Just locked up basically all 4 tyres there, heading under the seating section. Very, very cautious. Around this final corner, it's normally a downshift and throw it, but in these conditions, you have to be very careful not to run off track. On the brakes for turn 1, bit of a lock-up again, but manages to get it in there pretty well. Missed the apex by a little bit, but shouldn't be too bad. The rear end just complaining a bit there, under traction, as we head into what would ordinarily, in dry conditions, be the first DRS zone here, down Raffles Boulevard. And it's, well, it's just about keeping the car pointing in the right direction at the moment by the looks. As well, a 31.4, so it's about 4 seconds down on a dry lap through Sector 1 alone, and there's only really, like, 2 corners, so these laps are not going to be fast. That is for certain. Well, getting some decent traction now, starting to get to grips with the conditions a little bit better as he flicks it into turn 10. There's a yellow flag on the pit straight. I think that's someone just going slowly into the pits, or potentially spinning on the pit straight. Either or. Well, we'll stick on board with Will as we head into what would ordinarily be the second DRS zone, just after the Anderson Bridge. Probably the best overtaking opportunity on the track at the end of these 2 DRS zones. But let's see how much overtaking we can get to see. If it is, this might just be a case of stay behind the guy in front of you and wait for him to put it into a wall, as Will's already done at least once on this run. But has managed to keep it pointing in the right direction. It is at the very least going to be a decent banker time, even if it's not going to be competitive towards the top end of the grid. Just making sure he stays off a lot of these curbs as much as possible. They can get very slippery when it's wet, and again very gentle and cautious through the final corner, but this is going to be Will. Top of the timing sheet at the moment with a 56.6. Guy behind him is Johnny. Johnny's chosen for some intermediate tyres. Is it going to be a lot faster? No, he's actually 6/10 off in the Red Bull. So it's looking like wets are the way to go at the moment. Here's Luke on some inters. 10th off Will still, and Harry 4th over the line on full wets, so there's a P4. Here's F3 driver Mitch. How's he doing on his inters? 58.5, so 8 tenths off Harry, but that's not terrible as Iron Rav on full wets goes fastest. So looks like 4 wets are the tyre to be on. Harry but probably just made a mistake somewhere in there. And Luke's teammate Alfie's only a 10th.5 off. With Luke fighting for a title, that's a pretty impressive lap there. A couple of returning drivers here. We've got Ken and Liam, who did race last season. Decided to split the strategy, and Liam's 1.2 faster than Ken, so Wet's definitely looking around about a second quicker than the Inters at the moment. So good laps there from Luke and Alfie to get the Inter tyres that high up. Let's see who's next across the line. It's going to be one of the Mercedes. Is it going to be Justin next? It is, on some intermediates for both the Mercedes cars. Very cautious around that final corner, just stopping it, stepping out. Goes fastest with a 55.7. Looks like it might be drying up slightly, and the Mercs have just timed this right to go that little bit later. Thomas looking like he's on a decent lap as well. Get it to the line quickly. A 54.1. 1.6 seconds the gaps between the Mercs at the front. Can I get anywhere near that? He looks to have had a pretty good second sector split with a 14.8 and does go 0.3 quicker than Thomas. So I think the conditions may actually be changing this fast as Will jumps up to P3 on a second lap on some full wets. Definitely appears to be a little drier than it was. Luke's 1.1 seconds up as well, getting their eye in our drivers here with the conditions a little bit, but gets a snap around that final corner. So it's only going to put him P3 for now, as Johnny seemingly failed to improve. The only driver, I think, who's done 2 laps who did fail to improve. Potentially invalidated the lap in there somewhere, as Adam Bradshaw is just starting his lap at a up and down race yesterday, we'll say. And Iron Rev behind, just starting another one as well. Gets very sideways through turn 2. Just manages to keep it pointing in the right direction and on the way down to 4. Has bailed that one. Probably lost a boatload of time going sideways through there. That won't have been ideal. Justin's going even faster. He's 1.2 seconds up. This might put him up towards the front if he can hook this final sector up. We might see him up around Thomas. I would say almost definitely faster than Luke. This could be Mercedes really showing up at the top of the timesheets. A lot of aggression into the final corner. Manages to save the slide and goes fastest by half a second. This may all be about whoever is on track at the end. Thomas is going faster as well. Another second found. Yeah, wet Singapore, Mary. This could be a bit spicy, and it's drying out the whole way through quali by the look, as Thomas goes fastest with a 52.6. 0.6 ahead of his teammate, and they're for 1.2 seconds to iron. So that's a pretty mega lap in there. I think the conditions are now too dry for the full wets yet. Will's going to head back into the pits. Iron's done some recharge, maybe got some heat out of the tyres, and is going to go again now. So had plenty of fuel on board in that Ferrari. As Luke to the line, he's 1.1 up again and doesn't get a slide out of the final corner this time. Goes P2, splits the Mercs. Still a couple of tenths behind Thomas. We'll be looking for as good a result as possible. Just needs to make sure he beats Iron by as many points as physically possible, because Iron's going to be pretty mega in China next week. It is his track. Not only is it his favourite track, it's also the one he selected. George still in the pits. Bayard is finally out on an outlap. Has chosen for those intermediates. Probably didn't feel the need to do any laps on the wets, but it tends to be a good idea just to get your eye in when the conditions are like this, because the track can change pretty quickly as Ken jumps up to P6 with a 53.8. So next is going to be Bayard starting a lap, and then Justin's backed off, isn't going again. Is Alfie? Oh, definitely not. He's 46 seconds down, so definitely not going again. I think Thomas is backed off as well. Yep, he's just going to do that little bit of recharge he needs. So let's go on with Luke, who's going to be next man to complete a lap. Was a couple of tenths up, goes a little deep into the hairpin over the Anderson Bridge. And that's going to have cost him some time, probably. But if the track is drying out, although he's now 4 tenths up, so found some time in that middle sector anyway. Track is now drying out. It's going to make traction a lot easier. It's going to make corner exits a lot smoother. You can see a drying line beginning to form through the racing line. Luke gets a little bit too much over the curbs. I think they're not quite got the angle right. Couldn't carry any speed out of that corner. And, well, with traction being difficult to put down in these conditions, any speed you lose mid-corner is kind of going to multiply as you head your way down the straights. Not that the straights are all too long here. So Luke's going to have to kind of tip it into this final corner if he really wants this lap to be great. Bradshaw has crashed. Luke does go fastest, finds no time in that final sector, but the gap he had was sufficient. Johnny jumps to P2 as well, a good lap from the Red Bull. Teammate Hugo Nilsson missing his first race in like 3 seasons today, unfortunately. So Johnny flying that flag for Red Bull. Liam's just starting a lap behind them as well. Has done some recharge, got some more battery to deploy on this. Has to drop down to second gear there for turn 4, just to make sure the car keeps pointing in the direction he really wants it to. As Ken jumps up to P4, manages to split the Mercedes. Justin's sat in the pits at the moment, so probably going to take a bit of fuel out of the car, maybe do 1 or 2 laps on some inters towards the end of the session. Try and get the conditions at their best. You can see the dry line beginning to form pretty much at every corner now. And that is definitely going to help our drivers with maximising their lap times. Let's see how Alfie's getting on. He was thinking he's next man to the line. He is. There's a whole raft of cars exiting the pit lane. But Alfie, good bit of aggression through that final corner up to P7, a 53.6. So that is a decent lap. Will to the line, fighting the car his first time out on inters, a 55.5. But there's definitely going to be plenty more time to do in that. I think he probably didn't have the battery on. As Thomas has completed his recharge and he's going to go again now. I wonder what happened to Bradshaw. Because he crashed yesterday as well by, and I quote, forgetting to brake. So hopefully it wasn't the same thing. As that could be a little spicy for the race. But he's currently at P11, which is pretty good for an F2 driver. Currently second place out of our 3 F2 drivers that are in this lobby today. So you know, not doing too bad. As Thomas gets a pretty nice run through turn 6. But yeah, top 2 back in the pits. So Thomas is probably going to be our fastest man on a lap. Harry's on one as well, and he's 3 seconds up. So this is going to be a 54. There's a big gap between Ian in P8 and well, an Ian in P9 of almost 2 seconds. I think Harry's likely going to slot right into there unless he can find a big chunk of time in this final sector as well. And Harry's first runs were on the wet tyre, so this is a first run on inters, and it's a 52.7, jumps up massively up to P4. Great lap from the Alpine driver. Let's go on with Bayard, his teammate, who was a 10th down. Is he potentially backed out of this and to go again? Yeah, it looks like he has. So next one is going to be Alfie, who is kind of pushing, but I think he's lost some time somewhere in this lap. Maybe coming into the pits? No, choosing to hang it out. See if he can find the extra little bit he needs here to improve. It's a 52.6. It's P3. What a lap! I looked like he was losing some time there. As Will goes P2. This is going to be all about the last man to cross the line. Both the Mercs are in the pit lane. That is not ideal for them. Will invalidates his next run through. Iron's just starting one, so he'll be looking to move pretty quickly here. As will Johnny's on an outlap. He's going to have to get a little bit of a wriggle and make sure he doesn't get any of this traffic. He doesn't want to be anywhere near anyone for starting his lap. Speaking of traffic, George finds himself in some, though it all seems to be getting out of the way nicely in Sector 1. Let's hope he doesn't catch up to Will in a pretty unfortunate place. There's plenty of unfortunate places around Singapore to catch someone who is on a slow lap, especially when you're on a flyer. But Will is very nicely pulling over to the left side of the track there, letting George go through, so won't lose any time behind the AlphaTauri. Keeping it away from the walls as much as possible, but that's tricky to do here. They are kind of right on top of you at a lot of points of the track. As George threads it through the Anderson Sprit down to first gear for the hairpin, just to get that rotation, just to force the nose to stick in. Good thing about it being a high downforce track though is there's not too much in the way of variation between dry and wet setups. There's George with a 15-0 split at the second sector. That's a reasonable time. I don't think it's going to challenge the guys at the top as Bayard goes fastest with a 51.8. Hello. This could get very, very spicy very, very quickly. Harry's done a recharge. He's going to go again. That's going to be his last attempt. Johnny's going to very comfortably make the line, but won't have time to do 2 laps. So these guys are going to be on their final runs. Let's go back on with George as he heads to the line. It's going to be a 54-1 up to P11, 1 place behind his teammate. Never mind, as Iron goes fastest with a 50.4. These laps are going to be coming in thick and fast. Iron Rav 2.3 seconds up. You can see how dry the track looks now compared to how it was at the start of the session, but Iron's lost the rear. That would have been a great lap from the F2 driver, but unfortunately it's going to come to naught. Alfie to the line, done his recharge, and is going to be going again at pace. Luke's also finishing up a recharge and just about to start a flyer as well. So who's next? Man, Ken is not on a lap. And neither is Liam, but they've got plenty of time to make it to the line, as does Mitch, who is cutting some corners. Mitchell. Shouldn't be doing that, that's naughty. So next man is Thomas, who's not on a lap either, who's backed right off and recharged all his battery. Should probably get to the line without too much trouble. 30 seconds to go. Same for Justin. And same for Bayard, who appears to be pushing fairly hard, even though it's an invalidated lap, just to make sure he does get that line. So let's hop on with Harry. Harry, this is going to be his final lap. He's not going to have time to get to the line and start another one unless the times suddenly come down massively. So let's see if he can challenge Iron on that 50.4 up towards the top of the timing chart. It's a 50.8, it's P2. Next man over the line is going to be Johnny, who's invalidated his lap. He could slip a long way down the grid here. How's George going? He's a second up. Can he find any more time in this final sector? Just very cautious around that final corner. It's a 52.6. Iron goes fastest with a 49.7. Improves on his time. Will goes P2 with a 50.8. But what of Luke and Alfie? Alfie's going to be next man to the line. First McLaren to break that timing beam. He's currently P7. What time can he find? He's done this all on one set of inters. The tyres aren't going to be particularly happy, but it's still good enough for P4. Can Luke match and beat his teammate potentially? He's 1.6 seconds up. How much can he find in this final sector? Will we see another driver in those 49s? We will with a 49.5. Luke goes fastest. I unfortunately had that spin, so won't be improving. Who's next? It's going to be Ken. 1.8 up on a 52.8. Can he find time in the final sector? It's a 49.7 P3 within a tenth of Iron. This is going to get very close. Liam's 4 seconds up, but that's on a 56.9, so there needs to be time in this final sector as well. And it is pretty much bone dry right now. The track's still wet, but there is no rain, so every single lap is just drying the track up. Liam goes P2! Mitch goes P7. Mitch faster than Alfie. Merck's to the line. Thomas goes fastest. How's Justin going? Justin wrestles with the car, still takes P2, but he's a second off his teammate. That's a big gap for someone to potentially have slot into if they weren't the last two on track. It's going to be a Merck front row after a pretty mental qualifying in the end. Jesus. Thomas takes pole by a second from Justin. These laps are all right at the end of the session. Luke P3 with Liam Cross P4 on that second row as well. So a little bit of breathing room for Iron and the second Alfa Romeo of Kalle Buchanan. Bayard Bello and Will Coates make up row 4 with Harry Wales and Mitch Snape, F3 driver, on that 5th row. Great lap there from Mitch. Ahead of Alfie Harvey and Jonathan Foss. Johnny invalidated his final lap and has slipped a long way down with the conditions improving all the time. George, Pat and Iron Rav on that 7th row with Adam Bradshaw unfortunately not able to do any laps after the first few minutes of qualifying with crashing into a wall. But that was crazy. That was mental. Can we have the same again in the race? That would be so good. That was absolutely cracked, and I loved it. Now, is the game going to lag, or can I race director? I can! Big. So currently looks like Justin and I are going for some medium tyres, everyone else on the hards. Medium's lost quite a long time here, but I think the hard tyre strat is chill and hope for a safety car. And it's 5 lights, and the lights are out and away we go in Singapore. Good start for both the Mercs at the front, but Luke looks to have got a great launch off the line, tries to sneak between them. Can't quite manage it. Looks to go on the outside of Justin. These two came to blows last week in Australia. Are they going to do so again? Justin just squeezes Luke out of room slightly and manages to maintain that 1-2 for Mercedes, but now that's going to put Iron right on the back of Luke. And our championship contenders are going to be nose to tail here, but are they going to go for any moves early? As we've got a spin already, that's Harry Wales, and a lot of position changes going on. Johnny's already up to P7, so a great start from the Red Bull driver. And he's already getting on the back of what we expect will probably be our quickest group. Another man on the back. Mitch is going to go for one of his trademark dumb but always works moves at Singapore. Down the inside of Bayard, makes a nice move down the inside of turn 10 and up into P8. Mitch really coming alive in F1. Had a great race last week as well, and he's only on medium tyres this week. He's not gone for softs, as we see that nobody has. Luke and Liam have gone for some mediums in that front group. Johnny's gone for mediums and is getting onto the back of it, and then Mitch really putting his mediums to work and making some places as well. There's been contact behind. That's Will and Bayard by the looks, as Will manages to make a move that's pushing Bayard offline, and George is going to go for a move as well. Possibly doesn't quite make his way through. Yeah, one of Mitch's trademark crazy moves at Singapore. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to have the pace to live with this front group of 7, so we might not see too many of them if there's not for safety cars. Bayard's into the pits already, so damage on lap 1 for the Alpine. You can see they're missing the right front end plate, so that's going to be a wing change. Unfortunate there. Alpine running at 13th and 14th at the moment. Alfie's gone around as well. I completely missed that, unfortunately, and he will be heading to the pits as well for a new front wing. But can we not have this stupid camera when there's nobody behind you? As Johnny's making a move on, Ken gets down the inside, down Raffles Boulevard, and up into P6. That probably cost him a fair bit of battery, but he won't be complaining too much. As according to my telemetry, Justin's picked up some front wing damage, so I wonder if he's just grazed a wall. May removed one of the aero components on the outside. No, they all seem to be intact, so maybe just a shark bite or something. Or my telemetry's bugging out, one or the other. But still maintaining P2, although Thomas is kind of leaving at the front. A 1.9 second gap now between the two Mercs at the front. Tom's doing his best Lewis Hamilton impression, and Justin doing his best Valtteri Bottas impression. Just sit back a couple of seconds and hold everybody else up. Luke needs to find a way past this Mercedes as quickly as possible. He's on those medium tyres. He needs to make the most of the additional grip they're going to give him in these first few laps, just in case there aren't any safety cars for a while. Luke's going to try it into the final chicane. Justin brakes slightly late and just manages to fend him off, and now he's going to cover that inside. Luke switches to the outside. Justin is coming in to probably change that front wing, so there must have been some damage that just wasn't visual there. Now this is going to turn now into a group of 5 chasing after Thomas at the front. As Will and George, P8, P9, also get past Justin, along with pretty much all of the grid. Justin's going to be down to P13. That is unfortunate for him, considering he started on that front row. But anything can happen at Singapore, and there's always time for safety cars. As Johnny's going to make a move down Raffles Boulevard, the same place he got Ken. He also gets the second Alfa Romeo of Liam. Those medium tyres giving him great traction out of turn 4. That puts him on the back of Iron. As he's not one of Johnny's preferred tracks, but he's obviously pretty handy at it. As it's now going to be Luke, Iron, and Johnny all in together chasing after Thomas, but they lost a ton of time behind Justin with that broken front wing. And the gap is now 4 seconds at the front. Iron really needs to hang on to these guys on those hard tyres. Try and get some additional pace that the tyres aren't really capable of. And hope he can close in a little bit on Thomas, who is the man on the same strategy as he is. But Luke will be looking to hammer in some quick laps and try and catch up to the lead Mercedes. Let's take a look a little further back. We've got Will, George, and Iron Rav all within DRS range of each other. A little bit of a gap from Will up to Mitch. I'd expect Will to close that reasonably quickly. It is F1 driver versus F3 driver. So, as well as Mitch is doing, and as trademark as his first lap has been, you would expect Will to close that gap on raw pace relatively quickly. But Mitch is currently holding his own. That's higher advantage, really helping him out just to gain some positions off the start and then maintain them for a few laps moving forward. And Harry's not too far off the back of this group as well, and had a very good pace yesterday. We've got a yellow flag in Sector 3. That's Adam Bradshaw, who has had a little spinny spin out of the final corner. Unfortunate there. As Iron's going with Luke, and seems to be dropping Johnny a little bit. Johnny just about hanging on to that DRS range. Really needs to be going a little quicker than this, Johnny, considering you're on mediums. And Iron ahead is on the hard tyres. The wear differential not too big around here, but there's definitely a pace differential. The hard tyres do last basically the entire race. The mediums will probably do 20 laps if you're careful with them and very kind to them. And of course, there's always the chance of safety cars for you to go even longer if required. But Will has managed to get on the back of Mitch and has kind of dropped George in the process. George out of that DRS range now, but so is potentially going to come under some threat from Iron Rav behind. But we'll have to see if Will can find his way past Mitch, and if he does manage to do so, if he's going to be able to fend off one of Mitch's crazy Singapore overtakes again. He's already had one this race. We'll be looking for at least 6 more before this race is done. If Will's not careful, they're all going to be on him. As Will seems to lose a bit of time here in this final sector. George has managed to get back just on that cusp of DRS. If he gets a good exit out of the final corner, he might be able to grab it for the pit straight. Which doesn't quite manage to do so, although gets a great run through the final corner itself. And therefore, if there's a good run here through 1 and 2, if Will maybe gets a slight slide, or loses a little bit of time to what will probably be a tiny bit of dirty air right now. But no, George still not quite able to grab hold of that, as Luke has managed to pull out of Iron's DRS. And that's going to kind of drop Iron back into the clutches of Johnny and Liam. As Justin puts in a new fastest lap in P13, unfortunately. As he's closing up to the back of Adam Bradshaw. This is going to be F1 versus F2. Bradshaw doesn't want to get involved with that, just drives off the racing line and allows the Mercedes to go through. Doing his best Latifi impression there. So thanks for not causing carnage, Adam. That's appreciated. Luke's managed to take a second out of Thomas at the front as well, so that gap's coming down to about 3 seconds now. But we are going to get to the point where the medium tyres start wearing a little bit more and becoming a little less powerful compared to the hards, especially compared to where they are right now. But I have to say, though, Ken's doing pretty well hanging on to this little group as well. So we've now got a group of 4 for P3. I think Iron's kind of holding these guys up a little bit, which has allowed Ken to close in on those hard tyres onto the back. And so this is going to be one train, and the next one's going to be the Mitch train, which is Definitely got Will Coates in, and George and Ian Rav and Harry are all not too far outside it either. So if Mitch doesn't quite have the pace for this, then potentially we're going to get 5 cars together here. Unless Will can make a move quickly. We'll be looking to do so here with the aid of DRS down Raffles Boulevard, moving into turn 6. So we might see some pretty heavy deployment from the AlphaTauri as he looks to make a move on the Haas. Mitch just keeps it out of the wall on the exit of 4. Behind George is looking to go defensive. Let's stick on with these two for now. Will gets down the inside of Mitch, and Mitch is going to fight it, but maybe... Oh no, plenty hard enough, and gets back on the inside. George has managed to fend off Iron Rav behind. But Will's going to keep the nose in. There's a tiny bit of rubbing and a little bit of contact, but it seems everyone's got away from that unscathed, though it has cost them quite a lot of time, and that's put George right on the back of the Haas. Mitch looks to the inside of turn 11. That's only going to work if you're you, Mitch. But you are going to have the DRS here if he wants to try and remake this overtake. He gets a bit of a slide out of the hairpin, and I think that's going to put pay to him re-overtaking Will here, as we've got yellow flags. I think that's Bayard? Yeah, Bayard's facing the wrong way, which is not ideal. Maybe don't do that. But Mitch is hanging on to Will here and has put a little bit of gap to George, so what should be a bit of breathing room, especially considering they're both going to have DRS. As long as Mitch can stick to Will here. And that's going to be a little train of 5 beginning to form, with Iron Rav and Harry's got on the back of these guys as well, and has made a move on Iron in the 3rd sector, which is not a standard overtaking place, we'll say that. Mitch actually got out of George's DRS, so George has made a mistake somewhere in that sector as well. As Mitch didn't really close in on Will, so it didn't seem to be moving particularly quickly compared to the cars around, but did manage to break the DRS to George, although he's just about got back in there, I think, just by a couple of thousandths. Yeah, so that is going to be a rear wing opening on the Ferrari that should protect him from Harry nicely, especially with those medium tyres. But plenty of pace in that Alpine and plenty of pace in this Haas here for Mitch. So a gap at the front is sort of holding steady at around that 3 seconds, so I wonder if the tyres are roughly equal right now between the hards and the mediums as Bayard heads into the pits. I think that's the 2nd pit stop of the day already. So unfortunate there for the Alpine driver. But as long as you stay on the lead lap here, there is every possibility of getting thrust back into the middle of the pack with safety cars and the like, as Mitch almost hits the wall on the exit of the hairpin again. But George kind of followed him, I think. I think he was more concerned watching the Haas than his own racing line, and almost took the exact same route there into disaster and a broken front wing. But just managed to get away with no damage, I think, this whole train. So I think we're all doing okay. As Iron exits the pits and as Bayard exits the pits and is going to still be on that lead lap. So still the possibility for a good result here. Luke has got the gap down to 2.7, but more importantly, he's got the gap down to Iron up to 3 seconds as Mitch picks up 3 seconds for track limits. So that's our first penalty of the day on lap 8, and we haven't had a safety car yet, so I think we can be sure that the driving standards are pretty good. That's a lap 8 before our first penalty, and we haven't had a safety car by lap 8, which is unusual because it's Singapore. Ryan and Johnny starting to pull away from the 2 Alfa Romeos a little bit. I wonder if we've crossed over on the tyres slightly, and Liam and Ken are going to swap over, because Ken definitely seems to be getting closer to Liam, and Liam doesn't seem capable at the moment of sticking with Johnny and Iron ahead, although he's going to hang on to that DRS for now, so there was potentially just a small mistake in there, maybe. But the front 3 all pretty similar on pace right now. There's gaps all hanging around about 3 seconds at the moment. So we're not doing too bad. We're doing alright. It's could get a little spicy towards the end, though. The undercut is very, very powerful around here. Oh, Bradshaw's in a wall. Let's jump on with Alfie and see what's happened. That is our safety car here on lap 8. And that's come at a perfect time for Luke. He's going to be able to get in the pits. And I think the safety car is going to collect Thomas. I don't think he's going to beat it. He isn't. So Thomas is going to get held by the safety car here. Luke, Ian, Johnny, Ken and Liam all dive in. So that's going to be a double stack at Alfa Romeo. But there's a big gap behind, so they won't lose out to anybody. Luke manages to come back out in front of both Alfa Romeo, though. But they're still going in. I forgot how late their garage was. So it is going to be Luke, Ian, Johnny, followed by Liam, and then Ken's had to queue, but had plenty of... and Harry's got a 5-second penalty for, I presume, running into George on the way into the pit lane. Which is unfortunate, and will get served if there's any more pit stops. If Harry goes to the end, that 5-second penalty will stay on, because it won't be served instantly. But if we go later, then... it will. Now, this is going to be very unfortunate for Thomas if he wants to pit here, which I think he probably does. Everybody else has changed tyres. Iron's gone on to some mediums, as has Ken and Will, and Iron Rav. So if Thomas wants to pit here and put some mediums on, by the time they get around to the pit lane, I would expect that whole train that were behind him of Luke, Iron, Johnny, Liam, and Ken. Yeah, I know, my internet's shit. We know. It's having moments today for some reason. But this is going to mess Thomas up here. He's going to drop a long way down, I think. I definitely expect this train behind. Yeah, and the gap now down to 13.1. Yeah, blame. Well, more specifically, David, blame your job. No, I am streaming on small town in north of England internet, which means the infrastructure hasn't been updated since the 1840s. So I am on literally the best internet I can get. Always blame David. No, what's the catch? There is no catch. You can always blame David. That's fine. It's David's fault that it's a bit laggy, and it's also David's fault that my voice is going to be dead by the end. Yep, Thomas is in. Luke did get on the back. Iron seems to be slow rolling a little bit. Shouldn't have had a delta to stick to, but just wasn't able to stick close to Luke either. 10 seconds that gap has built up to. But they are all going to get out ahead of Thomas. He's going to drop all the way down to at least P6. I think he's going to be safe there, though. But he's not going to lose out to the Will and Mitch train. Just about, I think. Although he is still travelling at safety car speed. Pit lane speed, sorry. But there is safety car line 2. Just at the end of pit lane and just about manages to hold on to P6. The fact that he's just about managed to hold on to P6 is pretty insane, I have to say. And Ken and Liam seem to have swapped. I wonder if there was some lag going on, possibly a screen freeze or something. As yeah, the internet just has its moments. Not ideal. But it is what it is, that's what we're working with. So, I mean, if you were really bothered, Marek, you could fucking do comms with me, couldn't you? Yeah. Luke, and Johnny, where have you seen it? I'm going to go out on a limb and say every race. Pretty much. Yeah, like I have fiber. It's just this bad. My upload is this bad. My download's now working at like 25 megs most of the time, and my upload's like 25 bytes. It's pretty awful. It's why I no longer record my races in 1080-60, because it takes like 6 hours to upload them to YouTube. At least, if not more. But I would love class internet just so I could stream in like super crisp, super shiny, perfect quality and stuff, but it's just not feasible. I mean, you do that anyway, Marek, so I mean, no change. But I look forward to seeing you in the comm booth for China. And needs to be a little careful there to not cross the pit entry line. As pretty much the entire train's together, we're just missing the Alpines. which is totally fine. I think Harry may have pit twice to go back onto some medium tyres. Probably went with that balanced tyre strategy and wants mediums, not hards. Ugh. Yeah, go back to Prague. I should. If I lived in the city, I might have good internet. But yeah, you know, old mining town, north of England, infrastructure's from 1840. It's not great. Like, and I'm all wired too. I literally can't get any better. I'm running a cable. I've got the best internet I can buy. It's, yeah, there's nothing I can do about it. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But hey, at least I don't lag in races anymore. So that's a good thing. It's just my upload. My upload's awful. Oh no, I want Mark and Comms. It'll be so funny. Although, I especially want Mark and Comms at a track with corner names, because he'll probably have the same response as Mitch, where, how do you know all these corner names? Safety car is gonna be ending this lap. So let's jump on board with Johnny. I like being on board with third place for safety car restarts. You can see the differences of the front two. Third place tends to give you a pretty good jump, as you can just follow the leader. And if P2 kind of messes it up slightly, though, Iron's going to have higher tyre temps with those mediums keeping their heat a little better than these hards are going to do at this sort of speed. Yeah, so might be able to get a pretty good launch here. Luke needs to make sure he finishes this race with good points at the very least to keep the championship fight going on towards China. Yeah, I mean, like I say, my download's fine. Like, my download's really good. I download like 25 gigs a second, and yeah, like 25 a second, and it's just bad upload. It's like 2 on a good day. Luke's gonna go out of the final chicane. Johnny gets a lot of wheel spin on the restart, but he's gonna be able to maintain that P3. But Iron's going to be right on the back of the McLaren, choosing to save his battery, not going for it into turn 1, which could have ended in tears. And we have had a spin out the final corner, as is standard for safety car restarts. As Alfie's gone around, Thomas has managed to make his way up into P5, forcing his way through on the Alfa Romeo of Liam Cross. Let's jump back on with this front 3. How are they going to all arrive in turn 6? Iron's so close to the back of Luke. This could be a move that will more or less decide the championship if he can make it. Chooses not to, yeah, I wish. 25 mags. I got mixed up in my own words. You know, it happens. Ken's sticking with Johnny as well. Those medium tyres are going to be pretty good for the next few laps until they start to fade slightly. So Ian and Ken need to make the most of this. Yeah, new PB for Adam Bradshaw, lasting 9 laps in Singapore. That is true. Although, I'm pretty sure you lasted longer than that yesterday. So, you know, last, but still. Yeah, gap out the front, 3/10 gap behind 2.5. And Thomas is arriving on the scene at rapid pace as well. As Johnny picks up a 3-second penalty, that could mean everything. See, I'd be fine with that. I don't have that. I have like 2. Thomas has just got so much pace here. Almost puts it in the wall at the final chicane because he's carrying so much speed. And that's a Ferrari going, so that's Iron. Oh, it's not Iron, sorry. What? Is that George? I'm confused. Oh, it was Iron. Johnny's got through. So Johnny and Ken. Johnny and Ken through on Iron. Iron's down to P4. Was there a mistake in there? Probably caught a slide through the final corner. Thomas is going to look for the inside here. Couldn't quite get down the inside for turn 4. Yeah, Luke's a second clear at the moment, though. Iron having that mistake has kind of opened it up to him a little bit. But I'm expecting a super late safety car and Luke to end up like P14 or something just to decide the championship in controversial fashion. There's Iron a little slidey there out of is that turn 8, I believe. I don't know, the corners all blend into one another once you get around Singapore. There's so many turns here. Used to be the highest on the calendar before we got Jeddah. I mean, Luke might get mugged. All we need is another safety car, and Luke can get mugged. And Johnny's actually lapping a little bit quicker than Luke at the moment. As my internet just decided to yeet Thomas halfway to Sepang. But he is still pointing in the right direction, so this fight is going to continue onwards. Johnny's going to have to start looking in his rearview mirror a little bit, though, even as he tries to chase Luke down. Ken, Iron, Thomas, all going to be swarming around him on those mediums for probably 2 or 3 laps at the very least before the hards really come into it. Well, Luke's probably going to put it in a wall, as he seems like he had to lift on the exit there of the final chicane. Johnny just carrying a lot more speed, but then Luke gets a great run around the final corner and pulls out another 1/10.5. But DRS has now been enabled and Johnny is close enough to get it. We should protect him from the guys behind. Will's dropped out and Liam's dropped a long way back. Dropped down to P7, now coming under threat from Iron Rav. Justin makes a move for P10 past Harry Wales, though those two are going to be side by side here. On the exit of turn 3, Justin manages to slot his Mercedes up in front and he's now going to be on the back of Mitch. And Mitch doesn't have DRS either. As Iron Rav does manage to make the move on Liam Cross down the inside into turn 6. Let's take a look at Mitch and Justin. Mitch manages to fend Justin off and Harry's going to come back at the Mercedes. Justin's already burnt all of his battery here making moves. Harry brakes a little later. There's just about enough space to squeeze 2 cars through there. And they managed to do so with just a minor bit of contact. Justin's on those hard tyres though. Harry's chose to go back onto a set of the mediums. So should have a little more pace here as Justin hangs it out around the outside of turn 10. They're still going to be side by side. And they're both in a wall. And both out of the race. And George, no, Justin's still going. George has no front wing. Harry's out of the race. So not quite space to get through. And there's the second safety car. Yeah. Camera angles on this game, man. What you going to do? So I actually didn't see that because it just decided, ah yes, we will give you a camera angle where they are obscured by a wall. Excellent. So what was a pretty good restart from Luke has just kind of been undone as he's been pegged back to the group a little bit now. Is he going to pit or is he trying to fake Johnny in? Nearly fell for it, Johnny. That's, yeah. That's going to make it spicy again. As Iron Rav's into the pits, first man to pit. Liam Cross is in as well because I'm getting off those hard tyres, putting some mediums on. He's going to have a bit of tyre advantage as well. Mitch is in too. George has to pit because he has no front wing. Has to be very careful into the pit lane to not get a speeding penalty. Bayard nearly runs into the back of him. Yeah, he had no front wing, Bayard. He's going to have to brake earlier. I'm not sure if that was Harry's fault or Justin. I'm honestly not certain. They were side by side for a long time. And exactly what happened, I don't know. Nice to see you, Blake. You know you could have raced if you'd wanted to. Although I'm not sure how permitting to that your schedule is. But you had a good race last week, so it would be good to see you on the grid again. And there is a free house seat. You could have partnered up with Mitch again. So all the guys at the back have come in and changed their front wing and their tyres. Mitch appears to have pit onto a set of worn mediums, so I wonder if he went with his softer compound strategy. F3 definitely don't know how to race, Jamie. Don't be daft. Some of the shenanigans we've seen in F3 this season were... what's the word? Criminal? I'm not too sure. The thing is, if Luke pits and everyone behind him stays out, like he's just going to be mired in traffic, and then the tyre advantage doesn't help like that too much. I think playing for track position, especially with everyone behind you on the same age of tyres, the hards here, if they've already been through a heat cycle. Okay. Oh, but that would be funny. I just want to hear like hi Blake after he gets another podium. But yeah, the track position is probably going to be more powerful than some fresh tyres and mired in traffic. You don't want to get caught out by everyone. Yeah, Singapore was pretty good. Singapore was nice. I was very surprised. I was expecting significantly more chaos than there was. I mean, to be fair to you, Jamie, yes, you at Jeddah, but also pretty much everyone else at Jeddah as well. We'll have to see if the standard improves any for next season. Hopefully it does. Mitch into the pits. So as we're getting rid of these medium tyres. And is this going to be more mediums, or is he going to be gambling some softs here potentially? And we're going back on the hards that he's already done 6 laps on. So it's a choice between messed or not messed. I mean, the mediums are still going to fall off. They're still going to be. I mean, the hards are going to be a little better here because they've gone through a heat cycle, so they're going to retain their temperature a bit better and get back up to temperature a bit better. And safety cars are on reduced every race, Jamie. Oh, they're supposed to be. Because if you have them on standard, you just get a safety car every 5 seconds. League rules are to have the safety car on reduced because otherwise it is utter chaos all the time. Yeah. Yeah. T-running 6 people at once, not ideal. We had that in F1 last week. Sort of. Bayard lost control of the car slightly, and it managed to collect 4 people. It was such a minor loss of control that the Rowan just snapped on him, and it's just the way the car went, and the fact that they were all trying to go like 17 wide through turn 3, just collected like half the grid. It was actually really funny watching it from Mitch and Hugo's POV, because it was just like the Red Sea part in front of them, like, hey look, a gap. And safety car is going to be coming in, so let's jump on board once again with P3. This time it's going to be Ken. He's got the tyre advantage over the guys ahead of him, maybe for another lap or 2. But he's going to need to make these moves and then kind of hang on to it, I think, for the remaining 15 laps of this race. Johnny and Luke desperately trying to get some heat into those hard compound tyres. But as I say, they've been through a heat cycle. They should have retained heat a little better, and this has been a shorter safety car period. You can see there on Ken's wheel, if he stops moving it long enough for you guys to read, his tyres are under 80 degrees. They're on around about 78. Let's have a quick gander at Johnny's. I think they're probably around about the same. Just at the high 70s, low 80s. Yeah, it looks like 82 on the fronts, but like high 70s on the rears. Luke's gone again in the same spot. Will's had a spin off the safety car reset. That's unfortunate. It's going to put him right to the back. Hey, we just watched Mitch at the start because he gains like 12. It's fine. Luke manages to maintain the lead. Johnny manages to maintain P2. But Ken is going to be pretty close to the back along with Ian and Thomas. So it's kind of as you were before the safety car, apart from Luke no longer has that 1 second advantage over Johnny. It's now reduced down to about 4/10. Liam once again not having the best restart. I guess I'm just not quite getting the temp in the tyres as well as he would hope. And Ian Rav just about slipping out of that 1 second DRS range of these guys already, but he's dropping Liam at the same time. So I wonder if Liam is potentially carrying some damage on that car. I mean, that's just standard backer, isn't it? Oh, he's doing something to himself and rarely to others, which is why he doesn't get many penalty points. As Alfie has seemingly disconnected. Let me see if I can re-invite him. And hope it doesn't crash my game or the stream doing so. Let's see if I can find where he is. Oh, his internet might have died. Because I can't see him on my list. Unless I went blind. I may have gone blind. That is also entirely possible. Let's have a look. Oh, I might not have him added. That's also a possibility. Although, I think he has Luke, so he knows Luke is the host. He can just join back in on Luke. And hopefully he manages to do so relatively quickly, because having that spooky McLaren isn't going to be best for his race. So it looks like Bayard and Liam are starting to pull away from him already and is going to create a little bit of a roadblock for the cars behind, though hopefully every races him as though he isn't a ghost, as the rules dictate. Obviously there's nothing you can do if a ghost turns in on you, but yeah, it's the whole fact you can't like mass invite people, the fact you have to do it once and then stop and then do it again and then stop is kind of annoying. As George and Justin have both managed to make their way past the ghost of Alfie, so that is them up to 9th and 10th places respectively. I think Justin's possibly looking for a move on George as well. Okay, Alfie's internet died. Okay, Alfie, if you can hear me, although I'm not sure you'll be able to, you can just join on Luke as soon as you get your internet back working, assuming you do. So Justin, going to be looking for a move on George here. There might be some deployment of that battery power. Can he make a move on the Ferrari? George defends that well, just parks the car in the middle of the track. As Johnny picks up another 3 seconds, that's 6 for the Red Bull driver. And if it ended like this, that would drop him almost out of the points. Which would not be ideal for him, and would also not be ideal for Luke, as it would give Iron another 3 as well. Well, that is true. Oh, okay. So apparently Sky died. He's on Sky Internet, and all of Sky has killed itself. So the sky has fallen. Thankfully, I'm not going to start singing, so none of you have to suffer through that one. As well, what can Johnny possibly do with 6 seconds of penalties here? He's going to have to hope those medium tyres completely fall off a cliff, although the wear differential at 10 laps old is only about 5 or 6% between hards and mediums. So they're going to last a bit. As Alfie's back on F122. No, wrong Adam Marek, fuck off. As I think that's just my internet. It is good. So Luke didn't actually go straight on at turn 10. I'm starting to read them a little better now, as Johnny just about managed to fend off Ken, but he's been slow through that section. That's going to allow Iron alongside the Alfa Romeo, but can't make a move, and that could potentially put him under pressure from Thomas. Thomas is going to look for it at the end of the straight, just doesn't quite have the speed to get there, and this has allowed Iron to close right onto the back of these guys. And make this a group of, well, probably 7 now, as Liam and Bayard have closed onto the back as well. And the next car back on the track is Justin. So if these guys keep driving a little slow, I think Johnny and Luke are just managing the pace as much as anything else, because they're kind of backing everyone up a little bit. Maybe they want chaos to unfold behind them. Would make sense for a plan from Luke's point of view, try and get Iron involved in some carnage. Although, according to my telemetry, Justin is carrying side pod damage down in P9, so I wonder if there has some contact in there, as Justin picks up 3 seconds, and that's Ken in a wall, and he's out of the race. Oh, that is not ideal. That's an Alfa Romeo spearing off under traction. And that is going to gift Iron that place back and cause a 3rd safety car. Unfortunate there for Ken. He did get banned, but he mostly got banned for the same reason Taylor got banned, for essentially being abusive to people for no reason. Despite several warnings of, you know, if you can't talk to someone and be nice, just don't talk to them. Which appears to be a difficult concept for some people, unfortunately. But we're down to 12. Now who pits? You could realistically get softs to the end from here if you're very gentle with them. I would not be surprised to see somebody like Mitch or Will diving in here for some soft tyres. Luke and Johnny might pit for some mediums. The guys behind are going to be up in around the 30s, but pitting now is going to drop you all the way to the back of the grid. So I think it depends on how many people do they think are going to pit. He got banned because you told him to be nice to someone, and he was like, lol, no. Basically. And Luke's in, Johnny's in. Iron carries on. Guys on the mediums are going to go for track position. Luke and Johnny felt the need to pit here. They didn't want to be caught out a little bit on those hards, although had they stayed out, I think the hards may have been a better tyre, to be honest, although Johnny's going on softs. Luke's on mediums. So this is going to be all about can Johnny get those to the end in any kind of state? And if he does, can he clear Luke quickly enough to make it worth it? Mitch is in. This is definitely soft tyres going on that Haas. Softs onto the Ferrari of George Parr as well. I think George is just going to try and make a bit of a nuisance of himself here on Johnny and Luke up ahead. That's going to help Iron out if he can do so. And Iron's going to take the lead of the race and deal with this safety car restart, having been in 3rd and 4th for the last 2. So it's going to be interesting to watch Johnny, George and Mitch here, I think, on those soft tyres. They're going to be mega for a few laps. And then I think Luke's mediums are going to start to feel better for the last 3 or 4 laps of the race. So it may be in Luke's interest to let Johnny go and just try and follow him through some of this traffic. And then try and do some wonders later on. As we are now over an hour for the stream length, with still with 10 laps to go. Ugh, that's a lot of laps. Yeah, Johnny's got 6 seconds, which is not ideal. He's not going to win the race, but he's going to make up some places definitely on those soft tyres. As Luke's made his way past Alfie, I wonder if that's a little bit of lag, or is that a bit of ghosting, or possibly something? Because you're not allowed to change position under safety car, although no one got a penalty for it, so maybe Alfie had one of those half spins. Oh, like and subscribe! Yeah, like and subscribe if you like watching cars fly into walls at 3 FPS. As I'm having a seizure again, internet-wise, not like physically. So I think Luke's kind of wanting some carnage to unfold ahead of him. It's gonna help him out if it happens. He's on those fresher tyres, but we should put you all in bangers. It might be safer. In fact, can we just mandate that half the grid gets engine failures on lap 1, because that is going to make it safer if we can do that for F3. I dread to think what that hairpin at the end of the long straight is going to be like next week. There's going to be some absolutely criminal dive bombs into that. Criminal dive bombs I think Luke is going to be hoping he can make today. Let's take a quick look at penalties actually while I'm here. Just so we know where we stand. So yeah, 3 seconds for Justin and Mitch, 6 for Johnny. I mean, I agree with that one, Blake, definitely. Don't know where we found that guy from. Some people say it's soothing, but it's like it's about as soothing as a cheese grater on a blackboard. That made my spine go all weird just thinking about it. Just grab a swig, because I don't think I'm gonna have any throat left by the end of this. Safety car's coming in this lap. So once again, we'll jump on with P3. 1-1. Yeah, you can't go 1-1 at China. I've tried it. Because of course I've tried it. Well, I definitely don't have a silly generic accent, Blake. That is true. Yeah, grab a swig. Grab a swig, have a swig, swig, whatever. Iron's taking this quite late. And he's gone now. Thomas has got a great launch and he's read that perfectly. He's going to be right on the back of the Ferrari. And Rav in the Aston Martin drops back a little bit. but manages to maintain his position. Luke's on the back of Justin, a little further back as well. We'll keep an eye on the McLaren, see if he can make up some places quickly while those tyres are at their freshest. And can Alfie hold off Johnny? Let's go and take a look. Johnny's going around the outside of turn 4. And that is going to be a place for the Red Bull. Those soft tyres making the most of the safety car restart. And Alfie's going to come under pressure from George here as well, also on softs. George can't let Johnny escape if he wants to hold him up and try and help Iron out. But Alfie's managed to defend that place. And now Mitch is going to try on the inside of George. There may have been a little bit of contact there. I mean, that would not fit with what Mitch tends to do, although he has just made a move on George very nicely. Mitch tends to run, if anything, slightly higher wings than the average. Because every time he steals one of my setups, he wants to shoot me. Oh, Mitch has clipped the inside wall on the hairpin, but has managed to get away with that. George just about avoiding the back of the sliding Haas. But let's take a look and see what's going on at the front, and the gaps staying pretty similar. Luke is right on the back of Justin though. Can he make his way through here? Can he find a gap? Johnny's all over the back of the McLaren as well. Luke can't afford to lose any more points. Needs to make up some places. Yeah, nah, Mitch tends to run slightly higher wings because, like I say, every time Mitch steals one of my setups, and my setups tend to be very low on wings, he wants to kill me. So, I mean, you saw the gap I closed on you from last week in Brazil, Marek, and yeah, my wings are pretty criminal, and I tend to do that everywhere. As Luke gets a little undercut on Justin and might be able to stay in here as Johnny's disconnected from the session. That's definitely not ideal. Let me see if I can invite Johnny, because he's, well, the air is going to burn all his battery and melt his softs, which is not what we want. There's an invite sent to Johnny as he comes back online, so hopefully he'll be back in quickly and can still use some of those tyres to close up to the guys ahead. Can Luke find a way through? Johnny AI is just about hanging on to the DRS. We want to get back in quickly and hopefully close in within that 1 second. Doesn't want to lose that rear wing opening and potentially come under pressure from the guys behind. That's really weird, because I always find Mitch is not that quick in a straight line. Well, potentially. Potentially he has got used to my setups. What track was it? Oh, Zandvoort. My Zandvoort setup. Hugo actually had a fit when he put it on. He did half a lap and immediately retired. So, yeah, that was fun. Thankfully, nobody runs a setup like that here. As, hopefully Johnny gets back in the lobby quickly, as he's still spooky. I did just see the lobby freeze very slightly, so that may have been him rejoining. As Thomas keeping Iron honest at the front. They both dropped Iron Rav a little bit just outside that 1 second DRS window. Can the Aston Martin get a great run potentially through Sector 1? Yeah, back in that DRS. It's almost there, just not quite able to get the traction on exit. And Luke just can't quite seem to find a way past Justin or Bayode. And he's going to be stuck in a little bit of a DRS drain. This was the problem with pitting. This is exactly what he didn't want to happen. Might have a chance at a bit of ascent into 6. Chooses not to. Iron fending off Thomas at the front. They're going to be side by side. And Thomas is going to have the inside here for 9. Manages to slide down the inside, but already flashing on that battery. And Iron's got plenty to play with. Can he find a way past? I think it's smarter to not try a Mitch move and wait for the DRS. Which he is doing. But I don't think he's going to be close enough. Thomas just gets a great drive through the middle sector on whatever he's doing on his setup, as George has now got past Ghosty Johnny too. So that's 2 people with dying internet in one race, which is not ideal. Host has been pretty solid, so definitely can't blame that. It hasn't even disconnected me, which is, you know, a first time for everything, I suppose. So I think we need to get Luke to host more often. Obviously, all of my connection problems are down to Hugo. Thomas has pulled a second on Iron at the front. And Iron, if anything, is slipping back into the grasp of namesake Iron Rav. Yeah, we don't talk about Suzuka, David. I do have a low wing setup for Suzuka that's pretty good. But here comes Luke. He may have an opportunity here on Justin. Is he going to brake later and get down the inside for 6? He is. Leaves the Mercedes room to work with, though. And he's going to have to hang it out around the outside of 7 and get the drive for the inside line into turn 8, I believe this is. And does so, but they're still going to be side by side. These two came to blows in Australia last week. Are we going to see it again? Justin lagging a little bit around, although I don't know if that's me or him. And Luke manages to make that move and up into P6. Season 5 calendar will not be revealed until after F1 23 releases, because there's a couple of things we need to check on the new game. Plus also I need to grab footage from the new game, so I can't do maybe about 70% of the video until the game's out. And no, of course you're going to overtake me, Mark. I'm good at Suzuka for no reason, because I think I want a controller. But that is Luke up to P6. He's now going to be on the back of Bayode, but Bayode's still in that DRS train that is stretching all the way up to Iron. Iron's just about dropping out of the gap to Thomas. And all this top 6 are without penalties, so this is entirely needs to be done on track by Luke. He's going to have 4 laps left. He kind of had to pit off those tyres. Front 2's mediums are going to be dying pretty rapidly at this point. Iron getting dragged back towards Iron Rav, who is an F2 driver, so you would imagine the guy leading the F1 Championship will be able to drive away from him reasonably quickly, as we've got a smash at the back. That's Will and Mitch out of the race, and that's another safety car. Oh dear, this is going to be absolute chaos. We're down to 10, so everyone who finishes this safety car gets points. Well, there's stuff on Vegas that I may or may not need. There's stuff from Qatar that I may or may not need. There's stuff from the changes to Spain that I may or may not need. And Austria and Zandvoort, which have also been changed. And Silverstone, I think someone said. But there's also just the new cars, the new models, the new liveries. I can't exactly do a Season 5 reveal with a silver Mercedes. It just wouldn't work right, for example. It would have to be black. So, yeah, we're on safety car 4, and this one will end. Apart from Johnny, they're all pretty close together, but this might end with 2 laps to go. Mitch asking Will if he squeezed him too hard. That could be interesting to see. I don't know what Mitch did. I didn't see it. All I know is there was a pile of cars on the track, which was the Haas and the AlphaTauri. But Mitch is asking Will in F1 chat if he squeezed him too hard. So I guess Mitch was trying to open up 6 as much as possible. I'm not doing it with the Alfa Romeo only. I mean, it may have been Mitch's fault. However, Mitch is a clean driver. It won't have been intentional if it was. Everyone's staying out here. And the front 6 at least. I guess Luke doesn't want to lose out any track position again. Just in pits, put some softs on. They're going to be quick. And George pitting for some new softs as well. Remember, we had wet quali, so everyone's got plenty of fresh sets left. Johnny already on his second set. Second fresh set, though, is still a spooky ghost man. I'll try and invite him again. Perhaps it will work this time. Which would allow him to get on the back of the train for the reset. You never know, we might be able to get something out of it when I find him. If I can find him. Oh, he appears to have gone offline. That is unfortunate. Oh, Johnny. Well, that'll be a dispute. But I'll send you an invite anyway. Why not? So I wonder if Iron's going to be able to live with Thomas here off the restart this time. Though Iron knows all he needs to do is score as many points as possible. Doesn't need to win the race. Although, if Luke remains in P6, a race win for Iron would secure the championship. I'm not sure P2 would. I think it would leave Still a couple of points of leeway. As looks like we are going to have at least one more lap under safety car. Okay, so Will thinks it's a racing incident. Season 5, we're expecting it to start sort of middle of July-ish, around 4 or 5 weeks after the game releases. We do have a few social races planned for that little gap, which are going to kind of be first come first serve. If we get up to, you know, bigger numbers, 40s and 50s and stuff, then we'll just sort of run 2 at the same time. Good chance just to try out some of the new drivers if we do get new, which we should do, because I mean, we're still getting reasonable attendance on 3 grids with what is a dead game, whereas new F1 games tend to have good attendance, good uptake at the beginning. We're not entirely certain exactly what the first date is yet, Jamie. It depends on how smooth the game launch is and how quickly we think we can get everything together and how many people turn up. It's like if we're expected to do a video, if I'm expected to do 2 videos for like 5 tiers within like 3 days, that's not happening. I will tell you that for free. But it is going to be safety car in this lap. It has to come in this lap. The game forces it with 2 laps remaining, so this is going to be a 2-lap dash to the end. As I hope that was lag and I didn't actually just drive into a wall while warming his tyres. Although I'm not certain that's the case. We'll have to wait and see. It doesn't appear to be any damage on that Aston Martin, though. I would have imagined if you had just drove into a wall like that, there would be some front wing damage at the very least. But we'll stick on board with Iron for this restart. Man in P3. So we're going to open pre-sign-ups the moment Season 4 ends. So essentially you can fill your farm out. You can put your days and your team and things like that, like in terms of your preferences. That's going to be the day, either the day Season 4 ends or the day after. So either that Wednesday or that Thursday. After, what's the last race? After F1 Suzuka, that one. Which is going to be before the game releases, but you don't have to do, but you don't get time trials with that. Then we're going to have a week of the game. And sort of take a look at the tracks and decide what we think will work best. Then we'll release what the time trials are, and then you'll have sort of 3, maybe 4 weeks to get your time trial times in. That's the plan going forwards. No, it will be different tracks. It's different tracks every season, so it's going to be different tracks. We like to have one that is more about power and sort of high-speed precision, something along the lines of like a Silverstone, a Monza. For this season, that was our that was what sort of role France took. And then for the other track, we like something a bit more technical, something akin to a Zandvoort. Let's jump on board with Iron as Thomas is going to swing wide out of the final chicane and is going to go pretty early, kind of at the same spot Luke was going at. Yeah, you'll have to wait and see. We're not giving any spoilers, but it will probably be 1 power track, 1 speed track, and 1 technical track, just to make it a little bit varied, so you don't get a advantage if you're good on technical tracks or an advantage if you're good on power tracks. But front 5 staying as they are. Luke is getting right on the back of Bayo, though. He's going to look for a run here out of 4. Yeah, they might do. I mean, they're going to kill me in stewarding anyway. Luke's going to look for a move on Bayo. He's going to go for the outside into 6. Brakes later on the fresher tyres. Slightly forced off track. I think that's all fair and above board if he uses this momentum here. But Bayard's going to try and come back at the McLaren that just doesn't quite have the traction to manage to do so. And is Luke up into P5. He needs every place possible to keep this championship fight going. Iron in P2, but he's going to be coming under some pressure here from Iron Rav. And potentially even Liam Cross. If the Aston Martin can get some good exits, I think Iron's really struggling on those tyres. 21 laps old. They're going to be looking more like 50 pence pieces than round bits of rubber like they're supposed to. Justin's managed to force his way past Bayard as well. That is P6 on those fresh soft tyres. Justin could still have something to say about this. But that 3-second penalty is not going to help. Yeah, we're going to do like a week of the game where there's a few things me and Luke want to test out just to make sure everything works. And then we'll move and say, for certain which tracks there are. We've already kind of penciled them in, but there's always the possibility things change. There's a 3-second time penalty for Bayode. And obviously we want everyone to... and there's a crash between Liam and Luke. It's going to be championship over. Depending kind of on whose fault it is, but that is going to drop Luke down to P10 anyway. That is very unfortunate. I wonder if there was just some overspeed there, or if potentially Liam lost the car and collected Luke with it. But that leaves Thomas clean at the front. A 2-second gap over Iron. And, well, Iron's going to be coming under some pressure here from his namesake. Is Iron Rav going to look for a P2 in F1, or is going to be satisfied with a podium after making the most of a pretty chaotic Singapore race, although I feel like those words should probably be synonyms for each other. Chaotic and Singapore. And, well, Justin's getting on the back of these guys as well. Yeah, that's very unfortunate for Luke. I don't know if there was potentially just some contact from what may have been an overspeed. Luke definitely had the... I mean, that's kind of good, I suppose. But, well, yeah, because with it being on equal cars, you'll have the Red Bull DRS, which is worth 30 kilometers an hour for no reason. Which is sus, but whatever. I think Justin might still fastest lap here if he can not lose too much time in this final sector behind Iron and Iron. He's definitely going to have a lot more pace on those fresh, soft tyres. But the Aston Martin just wants to maintain P3. Well, Liam was in GRS last season, actually. Raced pretty much all season. Oh, Justin's tagged Iron round. 3-second time penalty for Thomas at the line. Can Iron hang into this? There's 3 seconds. He can. Iron wins. Iron wins. Final corner. Iron gets. Thomas gets a 3-second time penalty. That puts Iron to first place. George Parr takes fourth from absolutely nowhere. Bayode P5. Iron Rav comes home P6. Though there will be a report there on Justin. This could be a podium for George. The moment Hugo doesn't race and they don't crash into each other, we could have a podium from George. Holy shit. And yeah, driver of the day, absolutely. That was mad. You played the bet, you bitch. Okay, so Luke went for a desperate move to save the championship and has potentially completely thrown it away. I think, yeah, so with Thomas getting that penalty right at the end, I think Iron would have won the title anyway. Luke would have needed to finish P3. And even had that move been successful, he would have been like P4, P5 maybe. So Iron wins the race after Thomas gets a penalty on the final corner by a 1/10 of a second, just in P3. Although I'd expect a penalty to be on his doorstep Monday morning for the contact with Iron Rav on the last lap. George Parr takes P4 from 13th on the grid. A great result for the second Ferrari driver, and that's going to do Ferrari wonders in the constructors. Bayode P5, Iron Rav P6, Alfie Harvey comes home in P7. The spooky Johnny Foss P8, although we will be disqualified because he didn't do 90%. Liam Cross P9 and Luke Mills P10 rounds out the finishes. They will both move up one. And then our DNFs, none of which made 90%, so Mitch, no, you're not getting a point because Johnny got disqualified. Let's take a little look-see. If anybody wants to do some interviews. For our podium sitters. Now I need to drag Iron. Just give me 1 second to find him. There he is. Hello, Iron.
Hello. Oh my god, I still can't believe what happened.
That was, yeah, crazy race. 4 safety cars. That's more than we had in F3 and F2. So, how do you feel about winning the dirtiest tier? But you are now with Luke's contact with Liam on the second last lap. You are now confirmed as season 4 champion for back-to-back titles. How does that make you
Yeah.
feel?
Well, this one was way harder than the last one. Holy shit. Big, I mean, Luke really stepped up his pace from last season onwards. I didn't even expect him to be this quick, really. He's nearly got at the point where he's even quicker than me. So, I have to be honest, in the end, I was like, okay, I just need to practice more and like get in some results because otherwise I'm not going to get the championship at this rate. And then the last two races in what was the last week again?
Last week
Last
was
week was
Australia, which you
yeah. Then
got.
Australia and Singapore, he had incidents
Yeah,
2 times, which really helped me a lot. And yeah,
the gap was starting to look at the point where it would have been very difficult for Luke to catch it, especially with your best track coming up next week. But without the instance in Australia and Singapore, I think we would definitely have the potential of going to that final race, of going to Suzuka with the championship still on the
well,
line.
well, I'm happy at least it's not going to Suzuka. So
Yeah, we know you're not particularly a fan of Japan, which is unfortunate because it would have been fun to see you try and eke out as good a result as possible if the gap was, somewhere in the region of 15, 18 points. How many can you
but you know,
eke out at Suzuka against what has been compared to last season? How would you say the grid is? I think it's been quicker and a lot more competitive.
yeah, especially with the ABS guys coming in, it's just added some guys more for the top. With Johnny, Luke, and then the three ABS guys. That's why it's been really more sweaty than last season. Because last season I was guaranteed P1 or P2, but now if I have an off race, I'm like P6 or P5, which I can't afford.
Yeah, kind of. We do quite short seasons, and one or two bad results can really put paid to any kind of championship aspirations. Which,
And then a
as
big
we
shout
found
out
with
by the way,
Luke,
because I might have won the drivers, but George getting in a P4 today, maybe even P3 after stewarding.
potentially. I mean, I saw the
Yeah,
incident, but I haven't seen it. Obviously within a stewarding set, so I don't know if there was
yeah.
anything in there for the concept to kind of occur.
'Cause I want a double. I need it this season. And George has done a big job today with no practice coming into the race, getting P4.
Just a sec. Aha. Hello, Justin.
Hey, hello.
So that was a pretty chaotic race from your point of view. It looked. Um,
Yeah.
but P3 on track. How did
Yep.
uh, how did you find that?
Uh, I don't know what to say to be honest. First of all, GG Ariane.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was the penalty with Thomas, but yeah, we secure 1-2 on the green, and after that, first lap I just break my front wing in the wall. So yeah, just split, and I was in the traffic, and I try my best, and I had a battle with a noodle, I think,
Yeah.
and we both crashed, and yeah, I break my side pod, so after that, I have I have no speed on the straight, and to overtake it was really complicated, but yeah, there was a lot of safety car, and
Yeah, a little
and
bit.
finally, in the last lap, I said, "Oh, okay, I'm P3 anyway, okay." So I don't know what to say to be honest, because this race was a circus. To be honest,
Yeah, a little bit.
how many safety car? 4, 5?
4.
I don't know.
4.
4.
More
So
than
yeah.
F2 and F3.
Yeah,
Whoops.
I don't see every crash, but yeah, there is a lot of tight action. Like look at in the last lap on the last corner, he
Yeah.
crashed with I don't know, and yeah,
Yeah, with
that was
Liam. Yeah.
yeah.
Went for a slightly crazy move to save the championship, knowing Iron was a P2.
Yep, exactly.
And I mean, you know, it happens.
Yep.
I completely understand the mentality of going for something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same. I was just behind him, and when I saw him crash, I saw he tried something for the championship because Ariane was in front, and Thomas he was in front too, and he's closing the gap for the championship too. So yeah, I understand the look on this section.
But anyway, I think we'll I think I've had quite enough excitement for one night. So so we'll leave it there for today. Make sure you tune in to GRS Monday next week, where we will be traveling to China for F3. F2 will be on Tuesday, and then F1 once again on Wednesday next week. Oh, who Marek said he's joining me, so hopefully he is. That would be quite interesting if he does so. And we will see you there. So make sure to like and subscribe and all that random YouTube shit. I've been Zeke. I've been your commentator, and congratulations to Iron for back-to-back drivers' championships. We'll have to see if you can carry it on into F1 23.